Hi people! Today I will continue providing my controversial opinion on the topics related to the United States national security. Now, you may have heard about the 9-month battle for the TikTok ban in the United States and how this decision would possibly violate the First Amendment, specifically the freedom of speech. For me, as a human rights activist, it seemed quite like that too. At first sight. This is why I decided to sort things out, at least for myself, and that eventually became quite a reason to record this video. Now, bear with me, I know this topic is a little bit outdated, but I promise you it's worth it. So controversy reveals itself when this question is being reviewed through the prism of national security. I will explain why by elaborating on a viral video of the US congressional hearing where TikTok CEO Mr. Shou Chow has been asked operation and privacy-related questions about TikTok.
Mr. Chow, if I plug in my earphones into my phone while they're in my ear, can TikTok know what's going on in my brain, please?
Of what nation are you a citizen?
Singapore.
Are you a citizen of any other nation?
No, Senator.
Have you ever applied for Chinese citizenship?
Senator, I served my nation in Singapore. No, I did not.
Have you ever been a member of the Chinese Communist Party?
Senator, I'm Singaporean. No.
Have you ever been associated or affiliated with the Chinese Communist Party?
No, Senator. Again, I'm Singaporean.
Look over here, please. I've never heard of a country called Singapore. Is it in Western Europe or mainland Europe? Because I certainly have never heard of Singapore.
Mr. Chu, does TikTok access the home Wi-Fi network?
Only if the user turns on the Wi-Fi. I'm sorry, I may not understand the...
So if I have a TikTok app on my phone and my phone is on my home Wi-Fi network, does TikTok access that network?
It will have to access the network to get connections to the internet, if that's the question.
Can you assure me, or can you at least tell me, if you turn on airplane mode on a plane, can TikTok talk to the plane, please?
Quite a scenery, right? But let's quickly move to the first question, whether TikTok could actually know what's going on in the brain, supposing that the user has the headphones in the ears that are either plugged in or paired with a smartphone with the installed TikTok on it. To address this question accurately, let's break it down based on what is technically possible given current smartphone hardware, audio technology, and TikTok's known data collection capabilities. First of all, if TikTok has microphone permissions, it can capture surrounding sounds and even analyze background noise or voice patterns. Second point here is that apps can access accelerometers and gyroscopes to detect motion and infer some behaviors such as movement patterns or head tilts. Third, wireless earbuds communicate with smartphones via Bluetooth. Even though Bluetooth transmits the data, Bluetooth signals alone do not provide access to brain activity. Now, for my understanding, the question specifically addresses concerns about the headphones because they could be used as an amplifier for capturing the neural emissions because of their proximity to the source of the signal. Theoretically, there is a possibility to use in-ear headphones as a passive sensor to capture electromagnetic or bioelectric signals due to their proximity to neural activity. However, the feasibility of doing this in a way that extracts meaningful brainwave data is highly questionable. You see, devices close to the head like headphones or earbuds could theoretically detect extremely weak signals, although they would need advanced sensor technology to capture brain's electromagnetic signals, particularly in the frequency range of 0.1 up to 100 Hz. But utilizing passive sensing via headphone wiring is quite viable. Notice how he asks about the headphones being plugged into the phone.
Now, if I plug in my earphones into my phone while they're in my ear.
Metal components in wired headphones could act as antennas, passively detecting weak electromagnetic fluctuations from neural activity. If an app like TikTok had access to the right signal processing algorithms, it could analyze microfluctuations to make behavioral inferences. From all this, I conclude that, however, it's unlikely that TikTok or any similar app is currently capable of extracting meaningful brainwave data this way. If paired with AI and behavioral data, such a system could infer cognitive states rather than directly reading thoughts.
Have you ever been associated or affiliated with the Chinese Communist Party?
Now moving on to the question from Senator Cotton about any affiliation of TikTok's CEO to China Communist Party. It's related to the fact that even though Mr. Chow is Singaporean, TikTok itself belongs to the Chinese company ByteDance and consequently adheres to the Chinese law. Senator Cotton's question stems from broader concerns regarding TikTok's ownership, data security, and potential influence from the Chinese government. While Chow himself is Singaporean, TikTok's parent company ByteDance is headquartered in China, where businesses are subject to Chinese cybersecurity and intelligence laws that could compel them to share data with the government. The concern isn't just about direct data access, but rather the broader ecosystem of influence. China has a well-documented history of state-sponsored cyber operations, taking as an example Shady Rat. And I would suggest you to look it up because it will give you a broader understanding. And an aggressive stance on digital surveillance, both domestically and internationally. Critics argue that it's ByteDance's structural dependence on Chinese legal frameworks that poses the real risk, not necessarily the personal affiliations of its executives.
Again, I'm Singaporean.
This line of questioning reinforces the broader debate over TikTok's potential role as a tool for data collection, narrative control, and digital influence in the geopolitical landscape. So with all that in mind, the Project Texas has been initiated around 2020 as a representation of TikTok's strategic response to US national security concerns. By relocating and safeguarding US users' data within the United States under the oversight of Oracle and other trusted partners, TikTok this way aims to address privacy issues and reassure regulators that US data is protected from external influence. Even after all these efforts, the concern on the national security seems to not be fully addressed, which we can see reflects in the next question. Does the app access the home Wi-Fi network?
Mr. Chu, does TikTok access the home Wi-Fi network?
At first glance, asking whether TikTok accesses a home Wi-Fi network seems routine. After all, every app that connects to the internet does. But this question is much deeper. It points to concerns about how data is gathered, how devices interact with network signals, and what kind of behavioral or biometric inferences can be made from this data. When an app like TikTok connects to a home Wi-Fi network, it doesn't just establish an internet connection. It can also gain access to metadata about the entire network. And this includes device topology, like what other devices are on the network, how do they interact, signal characteristics, strength, direction, and interference patterns, which can be analyzed to understand movement and positioning, behavioral insights, when and how often a user connects, their digital routines, and even subtle biometric data. For a better context, modern networks, especially with 5G, Wi-Fi 6, and software-defined beamforming, use machine learning algorithms to optimize signal transmission. These technologies rely on dynamic radio frequency adjustments. AI optimizes signal direction based on user location and behavior. Environmental awareness. Real-time data from Wi-Fi signals can map physical spaces, detect motion, and even infer behavioral patterns. This means that even without direct brainwave access, behavioral and biometric monitoring through network interactions can be used to infer cognitive states, emotional responses, and decision-making processes.
I'm sure there's been enough argumentation till this moment to understand that all the questions here are asked for a reason. But I wanted to briefly touch bases on the last question. Can TikTok really talk to the plane?
Turn on airplane mode on a plane. Can TikTok talk to the plane, please?
All jokes aside, of course, when airplane mode is enabled, a smartphone disables cellular, Wi-Fi, and Bluetooth by default. The real concern might be whether TikTok can still communicate even when all traditional communication channels are turned off. The question of whether TikTok could still communicate with the airplane even when a phone is in airplane mode could be probing whether TikTok has the ability to bypass airplane mode and maintain communications in unexpected ways. Or if there's any potential interaction with aviation communication channels, intentional or unintentional. And of course there may also be a deeper technical vulnerability that hasn't been publicly disclosed. With all that said, it doesn't matter anymore because the new presidential administration has reinstated TikTok operations in the United States. Last but not least,
I've never heard of a country called Singapore.
I wanted to leave something for you to think about. Have you ever heard of Singapore?